Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, this is a Headache Soul production. Welcome to Just the Tip-Sters, America's favorite true crime podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Morgan. With me today is my handsome and talented co-host, Joshua Buttered Sausage Bevan.
Buttered sausage. I just want to talk about buttered sausage.
Yeah, what it is, what it isn't, what it does, what it doesn't do, and why does it get it out of my face. I have that memorized because I watched it so many times. If you have not found a clip of Gary Busey being interviewed by some poor soul who goes, "Let's talk about your Cable Ace Award," and it's obviously a podcast or it's a Zoom interview because he has headphones on, and he's like, "Let's talk about buttered sausage, what it is, what it isn't, what it does, what it can't do, and why is it in my face?" And he goes, "Not your jam, honey." He goes, I don't buy jam, I buy honey, and I kiss it on the lips.
Kiss it on the lips.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Gary Busey.
And this is more recent Gary Busey.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this isn't like Crazy Time 90s Gary Busey.
No, this is Crazy Time, probably 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buttered sausage.
Buttered
That's your new nickname. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. Sausage has oil. I don't know why it would need butter.
Buttered sausage.
I think it's a porn thing.
Okay.
I think he's trying to say he
Why
doesn't.
is it in my face?
Yeah.
Why
is it in my face? And the guy's like, "Not your jam, huh? I don't buy jam, I buy honey." I mean, so his synapses are firing.
Yeah.
They're just misfiring in a way that anyone else could
I
understand.
don't know. Dude did a lot of drugs.
Oh.
I think.
Because I wouldn't have put together two words, buttered and sausage.
Buttered sausage.
Why? Like, that's why I was like, is this a porn? Into my mind, everything's a porn reference.
Sure,
I know, and I have
course.
to stop that. But yeah, it's how my brain processes things. My brain is probably as fractured as his, but buttered sausage. So I want to apologize to the Tipsters because my voice is infinitely more deep today than usual because of terrible postnasal drip. Please do not think that Joshua has replaced me with a dude named the Douche Nozzle. Joshua and the
Welcome
Douche
back
Nozzle.
to Joshua and the Douche.
Douche Nozzle. I am a douche nozzle. Yeah, you need some really cool drops, like a vuvuzela. You need that. That's perfect. Talking about murder.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're going straight to hell.
Yeah.
So Joshua and I got to see Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh my God.
By the way, do I owe you money?
So amazing. No.
Okay, good. I was like, I couldn't remember Joshua has, like, he's a wizard and has all these like passes to ship. So we went to see Killers of the Flower Moon yesterday afternoon, and I was not sure that I could make it through 3.5 hours. I wasn't sure that I wanted to because I read about half the book and I was like, yeah, whatever.
Same.
It was given to me. Yeah, Joshua too.
No, I did.
We didn't know that until at the end of the movie.
After, right?
Yeah, we're standing in the parking lot yelling at each other about another movie. So, and agreeing to disagree about that. So I didn't think I could handle it. The last time I saw a very long movie, other than like, Pulp Fiction, which is 2.5 hours and like a joy, and you never want to miss a frame, was in college. For some reason, my best friend Brian and I were assigned maybe from an English class to go see Gandhi.
Oh.
And it was like, I don't know, maybe 3 hours, but it's so old. Back in the old days, kiddies, it actually did have like sound and color, but it was two different reels. So there was a break in the middle.
Right.
So we had to leave the theater for like 15 minutes and then come back. And it was, no offense. Ben Kingsley is a, spectacular human being, but it was fucking long. I think it was Richard Attenborough or something. It was really long.
Yeah.
And
it's
slow.
Yeah. It's a good movie to stream, I think.
I think you're right.
I couldn't imagine seeing it. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on.
Okay.
On
yeah,
Netflix
Brian
DVDs
and I did
or something.
Yeah, Brian and I did. They screened Apocalypse Now for us, which I think was in the theaters, but this was in a big theater in our college, which was lovely with great sound and everything. And one person sat in the back. It was packed. One person sat in the back. And when Martin Sheen kind of emerges from the water,
oh yeah,
like with like he's painted and all you see are those beautiful eyes. He had a duck call. And he was like, and I'm like, do not laugh, do not laugh, do not laugh, do not laugh. Because the college was it wasn't like some Jesuit college or something. It was like a public thing, but people were a little tight-assed.
Okay.
So later on, Colonel Kurtz, Marlon Brando, is talking, he's lost his mind and he's talking and he says, the horror. Mm-hmm. And my friend Brian leans over and goes, who's the whore? And I can't hold it any longer. Combine the duck call and Brian hearing the horror as the horror. I am laughing at the worst time possible.
Yeah, that's a pretty...
So yeah, okay.
Pretty intense moment.
Right. Now back on track.
Sure.
Killers of the Flower Moon. Joshua and I both agreed we did not feel it was 3.5 hours long.
No, it didn't seem... I mean...
No, it didn't.
It was a good long movie, but I didn't find any slow bit. I think right at the beginning, it felt like, oh God, is this going to be the pace the whole time? But I think that was just kind of part of the tension because it
built tension for me because it was loud.
Well, that
at
too.
The beginning, I was like, I might have a headache. And Joshua was so sweet. He goes, "Do you want to come back and see it a different time?" I'm like, no, we're invested now, buddy. I'm not getting up. And I'm glad I didn't. We moved around in our seats a little bit because it was uncomfortable. Oh, by the way, are you bruised? I grabbed that poor man's leg, and he's wearing shorts. I was like, please wear jeans. There's a lot of jump starts, like when
spoiler alert.
Yeah,
people get killed.
Die.
Yeah,
it's in the title. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of surprise.
Yeah.
And I tend to jump and grab.
Yeah.
So I grabbed poor Joshua's leg. And there were times when I was like, he's going to have me ejected from the theater. He's going to call security. But yeah.
It definitely adds to the jump scare factor for me.
When you get my nails dug into your flesh. Like, don't wear shorts when you go to the movie with me. I did have one friend, Greg, when we went to see Silence of the Lambs. I need like a hand or an arm to hold on to. And when we left, he goes, I believe I now have carpal tunnel. I'm like, I don't know that I can cause it in a 2-hour movie, but apparently I grabbed his arm so fervently. So yeah. So what do you think about the movie?
Yeah. Well, I definitely, I added it to my list of movies that are better than the book, which it's a short list.
You're right.
Because most of the time that's the cliche,
You're exactly
whatever.
Right.
Oh, the book was better.
You're exactly right.
This book, I'm going to finish it.
Yeah,
I'm halfway through and I'm like, all right, I'll read the rest because it's good but it's not, it's just
gripping to me.
Narrative
it's
dry. There's no character. It's just kind of it's kind of a telling of these real events. This movie, it was all the characters.
Yep.
And it was thrilling.
Yep.
And it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
The casting was next level. Everyone in the universe is in this. As Joshua pointed out, he goes, if Martin Scorsese calls, what are you going to say? No.
Yeah, right.
Even like amazing Oscar-winning actors have very small parts, but they knock the bottom out of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Just amazing.
So it dawned on me. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and on the casting, the main female lead, who is
never
brand new,
before.
And oh my God, she was just incredible.
Ethereal.
So good.
Yeah, she's amazeballs. Say what you will about Martin Scorsese. He does have, his own style. There's a lot of his films you could see from the beginning and go like, that's a Martin Scorsese film. This is a gangster film about Native Americans. I got home last night and I was like emptying the dishwasher and I'm like, the 5 crime families in New York, the 5 tribes in America. This is It's a thinly veiled gangster movie.
Totally. Yeah, and well, they had the council of the of the 12 chiefs there, and it was for sure there was, and then at the council, Robert De Niro is the consigliere, right? Like in the Indian Council.
Yeah, you add Robert De Niro in it, and then it's like, oh yeah, now we know where this is going. This is a gangster film.
Yeah,
it just happens to be about Americans who take over. While it feels like it would be a role that you've seen Robert De Niro in many times, it's still different.
Yeah,
it's different. In a lot of other movies, there is an undercurrent of you know who he is. In this, you're a little confused at first. You think he's might be a good guy with like a small tinge of bad, but then at the end you realize he is absolutely, Louis Cypher.
yeah.
He is Lucifer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's an interesting film. And then Joshua and I took the time to stand out in the parking lot of the Regal Theater and yell at each other about the movie Reptile. So we got that going for us.
Which, by the way, we both loved, but apparently saw
for
two
different reasons. No, we didn't say two different movies, my friend. No. We saw the same movie. And I
thought of that as I'm driving away. I'm like, wait a second. I think we were both clear that we loved it.
No, I didn't think you did. No, I did not think you did. No, and here's what I'm going to say. It is not and it's so crazy to me that what we loved about it, I guess, are so very different. It is not a perfect film. It's a pretty fucking good film for a first screenplay. Plus the fact it's the first time Benicio del Toro has writing credit. He contributed. Yeah. So the writer-director, it's his first time. He was a music director.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Music video. I'm sorry. Music video director. So I think it's a real good film.
Yeah.
People, I posted a bunch of stuff about it on Facebook because I'm madly in love with Benny. That's what his friends call him.
That's
Benny.
That's cute.
Yeah. And he's like a fine wine. He gets, in my mind, more handsome as he gets older because he's craggy looking. He doesn't, his face isn't perfected in any way. And he's 54 and he looks, this character, I think, has had a hard life and he's sort of perfect for it. I think he did an amazing job. Everyone, Eric Bogosian does a great job in this movie. A lot of people thought Justin Timberlake was a clinker. I did not. I thought he did a good job.
He was okay. I've seen him do better.
Okay.
I don't think he stood out. I wouldn't have gone, oh my gosh, he was amazing. Yeah, he was.
I thought he did a great job.
He was sufficient in my view.
So I'm in love with Benny, and Joshua's in love with Alicia Silverstone.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely.
Yeah, so and they, in my mind, what I'm in love with is that they had this beautiful relationship that Joshua thinks is he's being cuckolded. So I don't know what the fuck's happening, but I think they love each other.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
You didn't say that.
No, they definitely love each other, but I'm saying that the relationship's a little toxic. I don't want it.
Toxic?
Yeah, I don't want that relationship.
That was exactly what I want. Why would you not? What's toxic?
Are we going to go for this?
I guess so. I
thought we said agree to disagree.
I love the relationship, and you did not. You think it's toxic.
I saw different aspects, and this is I think we joked that did we see two different movies? I think the really good part of this movie is that these characters were very deep and very fleshed out. So I caught on to certain aspects of that character and you caught on to certain other aspects. And I think that means, oh, okay, these are really, really deep characters and really well acted.
I think that's very true. They're flawed. They're flawed
absolutely.
Humans. And it's not like everyone is perfect or, like this is a tortured person. No, it's like somebody who's probably really got some deep shit, but also like loyal and dedicated to their job and to their relationship.
Yeah.
And that makes it toxic. I love that.
No, because I would say that Benny's character was much more self-involved than
interesting
than with his relationship or with his job.
Okay.
Because there's a line in there that I'm going to butcher, but he says something like, the only thing I love almost as much as my wife,
almost as much as you, is my job, and this job does not love me.
Which is an amazing line. It's brilliant. The addendum to that in what I saw was, and I love myself way more than both of those.
I didn't see that. That's interesting. I didn't see that, but I will absolutely hear you, and I will take a look at that. I've seen the movie twice just because I love their relationship. Yeah, that's what I think is so beautiful. But okay, well, that wasn't nearly as knockdown drag out as I thought it was going to be. I almost ran over him in the parking lot last night. So, yeah.
Okay.
I was like, how much would it take if I just backed over him right now? Just
Wasn't there
accidental?
Wasn't there a concrete bumper?
Not. No,
you checked first.
Yep, I did. You were right behind me, brother. I could have backed right over you, but I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. On the next day's reflection, we were not that far apart. We see it differently, but yeah.
I'm glad you didn't either.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for not murdering me yesterday.
Speaking of that, this is a case I'd never heard about. And I love sometimes the way cases come to us. I went to a meetup group and there's one seat left and it's next to me, and who sits next to me but a cop. So, and I'm thinking, oh, you're a cop. He has a flat top and he has the sunglasses, and he mentions he has to work at night. And I'm like, he's a fucking cop. So we're talking, and it's a group, and I turned to him and I go, so are you in law enforcement? He's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. So he is evidence and property supervisor for the LAPD at one of the divisions here.
Okay.
And, we talk for a while, and he says, what do you do? And I was like, well, I'm looking for a job right now. Which, hey, if anybody knows of one, let me know. Like, I'd prefer not to be a prostitute, but, I don't know if I can make any money, but I am looking for a job as usual. And I said, but I host a true crime podcast. And he goes, oh, okay. Well, since you like true crime, you might be interested in this. I have a piece of evidence in my evidence room from the Santa Strangler. And I'm like, the what? The
Santa Strangler?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Never heard of it. Never heard of this case. And, like last week, we can discuss the fact that, white women are, go missing, and then they are, thought of or looked for. I don't know why a man who kills 4 to 6 women isn't better known.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I just showed Joshua a picture
of him.
I would
not want to sit on that Santa's lap.
Yeah.
Whew, that is a scary looking dude.
Now that is his booking photo.
Sure.
And when he was like 78.
Okay.
But he had, this white beard and was, but from all accounts, a kind and generous, member of the community.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
So his name, I feel like this is a little bit of a giveaway, is Adolph Laudenberg.
Adolph Laudenberg.
Yeah. German. I don't know if that came through. Yeah. And born in my home state of Kentucky in 1925. And his father was a German butcher. His mother died when he was young, and he had picked up this gift of whittling. So he would make walking sticks and, whittle lots of stuff out of like twigs. And amazingly, he got like a reputation for the walking sticks, and they would sell, in the 30s during a really difficult time in American financial for $10 a piece.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he helped to like support his family. So he meets his wife when he's 18.
Okay.
And her name is Annelle. And he goes into the service. They end up moving to California. He adopts Annelle's son. I believe his son's name is Stephen. He adopts him. And he, from all accounts and purposes, is a really good stepdad to his son. So he and Annelle are married for 30 years. I mean, I can't even believe it. Some of these things that happened were during their marriage, the end of their marriage.
Okay.
So they're married, into the mid 70s, from the mid 40s to the mid 70s. They live in mostly Northern California, San Francisco, San Luis Obispo. He, had different jobs. He was a security guard, and then he began driving cabs.
Okay.
Now, he and Annelle get divorced, and she apparently was very opposite of him. She worked at a dance studio. She was actually even one of the first kind of like, fit models with Jack LaLanne.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the exercise guru. She was very much into, her body and fitness and working out at that time when, it wasn't that prevalent,
Right.
So he was like, I don't know if he looked like Santa his whole life, but I think he probably went gray early.
Okay.
And kind of looked older than he was.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he ends up being closer to Steve than Annelle does, and they get divorced. She was like, look, I'm done with this marriage. And then she comes out as a stripper.
Oh, wow.
So she, they've been married a while, but she can still, I guess, probably looks really terrific for her age because she can,
Sure.
She would call herself an exotic dancer.
All right.
But, he's like, she's a stripper. So he has this kind of weird gypsy lifestyle. He marries again, but stays close to his first stepson.
Okay.
And then he has a second stepson. The second wife and he get divorced, but he still has these two sons in his life. He moves to New Orleans, but then he decides he really loves California.
Okay.
So he comes back. So he becomes a cab driver in San Pedro.
Okay.
He also has a type. Here's the part where I don't know, because of the time that we're talking, where maybe there are more victims than we already know about, because a lot of serial killers who prey on downtrodden people, usually, sex workers, he enjoyed finding people who were really downtrodden, like maybe women who were alcoholic.
Okay.
Needed ride homes from bars.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, it's so between 1972 and 1975, they believe he killed at least 4 women, and he is suspected of 2 others.
Oh, wow.
Now, finding out that he had moved to New Orleans for a short period of time, I am not convinced that there aren't women that are victims of his there.
More out there.
Yeah.
I got it.
Because of the time we're talking about, where collecting DNA wasn't maybe as precise as it is now.
Sure.
I don't know that we will ever pinpoint how many victims he actually had.
Yeah.
The thing that is a little bit of a padding is that he confessed to killing 4, which is one of the things that gives me some sort of hope that maybe there's not a lot more than that.
Oh, okay.
Who he confessed to were 2 different daughter-in-laws.
Oh, okay.
Both of whom went to the police.
Okay.
Okay. So in 1975, a woman named Jeannie, who is dating his son Steve, comes to California. They decide they're going to make it work. And Steve is out of town working. And who picks her up in San Luis Obispo but her soon-to-be father-in-law, Adolph Laudenberg.
Mm-hmm.
They travel around together, finding things to put in their new apartment. They go shopping. They go to flea markets.
Uh-huh.
He showed her around town. She said he was, a perfectly affable older man.
Okay.
Older, Santa-looking man.
Sure.
And after about a week, he starts giving her love notes, telling her he's in love with her. And she's like, this is uncomfortable and I don't know how to handle this, but I just kind of brush him off. And then one day they're riding around in the car together, a little over a week after she lands in California. And he stops the car and turns and looks at her in the face and says, I have 4 sins to confess.
Oh my God.
And she's like, we all have sins.
Sure.
And he said, I've killed 4 women.
Is this supposed to endear her to him?
Exactly.
I
mean, I'm sure it'd be like,
I'm in love with you.
Right.
Let me tell you all about these murders I've committed.
Right. Rapes and murders.
Oh boy.
Rapes and murders.
Oh boy.
Rapes of older women who are down on their luck. And wait till you hear some of these poor victims. Okay. She said she didn't believe him at first. She thought it was something he was saying to like make himself be bigger.
Sure.
You know? So what I think is fascinating is she went on to marry his son.
That didn't dissuade her.
He was not invited to the wedding.
Well, okay.
So shortly after they get married, they move to Pennsylvania. They pack up and move back to Pennsylvania, which I think is where they met. And letters come in the mail from Adolph telling her how much he loves her.
Oh, boy.
And they slow down to a trickle, and then they finally stop. And she's like, all right, that's over. We're not in contact with him anymore. And that's over. His other son marries a woman. Now, here's where I have issues with journalism. Sometimes she's called Darlene. Sometimes she's called Renee. Both, her last name is Laudenberg. She goes to the police and says, my father-in-law told me he's in love with me and that he's killed 4 women.
Oh, my God.
Now, I need to go back and say that Jeannie had gone to the San Luis Obispo police. At first, she said she didn't believe Adolph because she thought it was just him kind of trying to make himself appear, stronger, bigger. She goes to the police and they say, we don't have any proof. What do you want us to do? Well, I just feel like you should know this.
Okay.
Here's what I think is the timeline. I think some of them are in Northern California and some of them are in Southern California. The second daughter-in-law goes to the police in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Now they pay attention and they question him and say, hey, you're a cab driver. Some of these women were last seen leaving a bar, maybe not in complete control of their faculties. Do you know anything about this? No, not me.
Huh.
Kindly old Santa.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So there is a very large collection of thousands of cases that have been unsolved at the LA County Coroner's Office. And cold case detectives, that is what they do.
Okay.
Now, they had DNA from 3 women, 1975, 1974, 1972. And the samples from 74 and 75 are not usable. But the sample from 1972 is.
Oh, okay.
They have a profile. They know who this person is, but then this person is not in any sort of database.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Never committed a crime, never been entered in a database. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
Right. So what has been left behind in these cases is Lois Petrie. She was 43 in 1972. She was seen in a bar in San Pedro on Christmas Eve. Her husband had recently died from cancer. They believe she was killed sometime between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And the day after Christmas, she is found strangled in her apartment's bedroom, sexually assaulted with, I believe, only one pant leg left on.
Jesus. Manually
strangled.
Wow.
1974, Catherine Medina is 50 years old. She was, this is in my mind extremely odd. She was kind of, rustled out of a bar in San Pedro by her husband after they have an argument when he finds her at the bar. They're walking home. Catherine breaks away from him and jumps into a van of an identified man.
Just a random van?
Yeah, and it sped off.
Wow.
I don't know that it was a terrible choice and it was Adolph Laudenberg's van, but the chances are it was.
Wow.
On August 19th, the following day, her body is found in some bushes in the Harbor Lake Recreational Park, completely nude and strangled.
Jesus.
A month after Catherine Medina, September 4th, Anna Felch is 54, and she worked at a hot dog stand on Cabrillo Beach. She disappeared after leaving a San Pedro bar in the middle of the night, and she was drunk. A few hours later in the morning, a construction worker finds her body just a few blocks away. She is sexually assaulted and strangled. And in 1975, Leah Griffin, who's 60 years old. Now, this is the one that's like, out of town that they're very sure that he is connected to. There are 2 others that are also in Northern California. So a total of 6, but total of 4 is what we think he is absolutely responsible for. Leah Griffin was 60. She's a retired legal secretary, an alcoholic. She had recently been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Jesus.
She is found bound, raped, and strangled in a residential hotel in San Francisco on March 21st of 1975. Now, at the time, he was living in San Jose. So he lived this kind of itinerant, life, lived in different parts of California. And then you'll see in his older years, really an itinerant lifestyle, which is so interesting how they smoke him out. It's just, I'm going to tell you, it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Really, like appeal to the ego, and how do we get Santa to come out of hiding? And they do. So there's 2 that he is suspected of from 1974. Irene Hind, who was 85. She owned a bar in San Francisco called Irene's Club, and she was very generous, and she helped people out who would, come to her place to drink. She was found raped and strangled March 12th of 1974, like a year earlier than Leah Griffin. And this one is just absolutely terrible. Maud Burgess was 83.
Oh, jeez.
A retiree who helped the management of her San Francisco building. She was found raped and strangled in November of 1974.
Wow.
83. So in 1975, here's Adolph, confessing to Jeannie, and then, San Luis Obispo police are like, yeah, we can't connect him to anything. And then his other daughter-in-law is like, look, he confessed his 4 sins to me where he killed 4 women. And they're like, all right, we got to take a look at this. So they have this, God bless, Lois Petrie, the oldest case. They have the DNA from that case. And God bless the cops that took a rape kit at that time, hoping DNA would progress, and it did.
Nice.
So it's 2002 when his second daughter-in-law goes to the LAPD and goes, look, he is, he is something else. And I believe him now. I believe, So he is an itinerant, and they know that it takes 3 weeks to track him down because he's living in a camper van.
Okay.
And he travels around, but he has a friend named Tony who owns a auto body shop in Torrance. And when he, runs out of places to go or park or live, he usually finds a place on Tony's property.
Okay.
So Tony is interviewed, and he's like, I was completely shocked the day that police showed up to arrest him. But how they got to arrest him is magnificent. They track him down. They leave cards all over. Hey, if you see Adolph Laudenberg, could you ask him to give us a call? We're looking for some help for auto burglaries. We know he knows a lot about cars, and
oh boy,
I'm not kidding. It's amazing. 3 weeks later, a woman at a trailer park that one of the detectives had left his card calls him and said, I think he's at Tony's property in Torrance. So they show up, and he goes, I hear you've been looking for me. He's like, yeah, we were hoping you could help us. There's a series of broken into cars in the area, and we know you know a lot about cars. Would you sit down and talk to us? And he's like, okay. So they go to a diner.
Wow.
And have coffee.
Huh, okay.
And Adolph Laudenberg says, are you sure this isn't about 4 murders?
Oh my gosh, he brings it up?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the detective is like, I know I have to get the conversation back on track. And he's like, no, this is about all these cars that have broken into. And listen, I understand that you have a great history of whittling. I've just recently taken that up. Maybe you could help me.
He's just going
to
have a conversation. Wow.
And he gets him back on track.
Huh.
And so much so distracts Adolph Laudenberg that when they leave, the cop gets up and follows him out. And there is another detective who swoops in and grabs the cup.
Oh, takes the cup off the table for the DNA. Got it. Okay.
And it comes back as a match to the person who murdered Lois Petrie.
Wow.
So they bring him in, and he is down at the detention center in downtown LA. And he is 78 years old. And he is a pompous asshole. And he's like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about that.
Oh, geez.
And the detective says, well, I have the truth on my side. Well, then you just take it to the Lord, and I'll be talking to a lawyer.
Yeah. Okay.
So in 2006, he goes on trial. It's 3 weeks, and it takes the jury a day to convict him only of Lois Petrie's murder. But he is given life in prison, which you're 78.
Yeah.
But the piece of fucking shit lives to 89.
Wow.
He doesn't die till 2015 in prison.
Okay.
Denying it the whole time.
Okay.
Now, what I thought was really fascinating is that he appeals the case, saying it was expected that the server at the diner would clear the dishes.
Huh.
So here's the thing. I do not know what year it went into effect, but once you discard something, it is public property.
Sure.
They can't come and take your shit. Can't take a buccal swab or, that's without a warrant.
Right.
And you knowing it. But if you are suspected of something, I mean, come on. It's how they got the Golden State Killer. It's how they got, the Grim Sleeper. Sure. It's how they got Rex Heuermann. I mean, it's, Lisk. It's a lot of pizza. A lot of pizza crust is how.
Pizza crust.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. John's Pizza for the Grim Sleeper and pizza in New York for Rex Heuermann. Yeah. A lot of serial killers dig carbs and cheese, I guess. I don't know.
And don't finish their crust. So that's the moral of the story is if you're going to murder people,
eat your crust.
Eat your crust.
Yeah. So he's like, it was expected that a server would clear off the table and take my, cup with my DNA.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that sounds like a very lawyery kind of
it does.
line of, yeah.
But at least they didn't use ineffectual counsel as his appeal, which is what they always use.
Yeah.
What is so interesting is that he barely left any clues behind. I don't know if it's the time of the crimes when he did them and they didn't collect things like they do now, or if he really didn't leave a lot behind, because the fact that his, earlier crime that he's, suspected of is the one that got him 3 years before the others, that's 72. The others are 74, 75. I don't even want to say the first person because I don't know that there aren't a lot more. It's a type of person who could have lived a compromised life. And there could be so many women we will never know if he had anything to do with it.
Right.
The fact that he confessed 30 something years before they got him.
Crazy.
Twice.
Yeah, wow.
Here's another piece of information I absolutely love. His first daughter-in-law, Jeannie Laudenberg, apparently is a bit of a notation queen and pack rat. So she had a daily calendar and she would make notes in it.
Oh, okay. When
the police fly to Pennsylvania to talk to her about her, coming by in 1975 and saying, my father-in-law confessed to, he called his 4 sins. They said, do you remember, anything about that? And she's like, well, yeah. And he said, the detective says, do you have a picture of him? And she goes, well, sure. She said, I knew I did. So I go looking through my pictures and she said, and what did I find? I found my daily calendar from 1975.
And oh wow.
What does it say in it? Dad confesses 4 sins. And the detective said this goes to her credibility.
Right.
She can't fake she didn't know they were coming.
Yeah.
They show up on her doorstep. She can't fake a 1975 calendar with other pieces of information that line up to 1975. Sure. But she makes the note, Dad confesses to 4 sins.
Wow.
Yeah. So the piece of shit is convicted. He, tries to get out on appeal. It's overturned. He spends the rest of his life, without the possibility of parole in prison. And even though he is only convicted of 1 murder, I can't help but think that there are probably more.
Sure.
And the fact that he looked like Santa, and honestly, his first, victim was actually on Christmas Eve.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. There's the Santa Strangler. So here's what I'm going to hope. I hope that this month, if there's another meetup and my cop friend shows up, I can say, what piece of evidence do you have?
Yeah, that's...
I know.
What is it?
I know. And why would it be in his evidence room as opposed to maybe because the case is the case is closed?
Well, you said he was LAPD?
Yeah. San Pedro.
So, yeah, San Pedro.
Yeah, but why wouldn't it be with like the coroners? I don't know how these things
why does
go.
It go back
why does it go back to Van Nuys?
Okay. I don't know. I don't know how all that works. Yeah.
Right. The large storage room at the LA County Coroner's Office is called the Tunnel. It's so big. And I will tell you, it was a very eye-opening to be in the actual cold case room, which is a room and then has an attached huge warehouse with the LA County Sheriff's Department. So the LA County Sheriff's Department Homicide Bureau is the largest homicide bureau in the country. And Mark and I got to go on a tour.
Cool.
And so there's a cold case room with shelves, paper bags. But then there's a door that you can't get in, but he got someone to open the door and we got to just stand on a platform and look out in this fucking warehouse.
Wow.
And it's concrete and it is cold. They keep it cold.
Okay.
The woman who works there has on a jacket. She's very sweet. That was her shift. I guess they have. And I was like, this is awe-inspiring.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's very large.
Huh.
It's very large. So I know that's what cold case detectives want, is to clear these things. The fact that this detective starts flipping through and finding something that is so old he thinks he can't solve it, but he's going to try.
Right.
And he does. He gets one, and there are 5 others suspected.
Yeah, wow. That's amazing.
I know. Huh. And it's DNA is everyone's, DNA is God right now. But what solved this case? Old-fashioned police work.
Yeah, actually.
Going back and finding if there was a sample. First 2 samples unusable. Don't have a lot of hope because the next sample is even older. And yet that's your winner.
Right.
Going to the people that said he confessed to me and talking to them.
Right.
And I mean, it was a combination of circumstantial and DNA.
Right. Wow.
I mean, I'm so, this one was pretty fascinating. Yeah. So when my new friend said, I have a piece of evidence in my evidence room from the Santa Strangler, I'm like, here's me. I'm like, somebody strangled Santas? Like they didn't get what they wanted for Christmas, or never dawned on me it was someone who looks like Santa. But you heard Joshua's, authentic reaction.
Yeah, I don't.
You're like, I don't want to sit on that Santa's lap.
Yeah,
but the detectives all said he was such a extrovert, friendly kind of guy, known throughout every neighborhood as a friendly old guy. He said you put him in a Santa suit and take him to the mall and you'd probably find your kid sitting on his lap.
Yeah. Wow.
I know. He only strangles older women who are compromised.
I guess.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Nice, huh?
Yeah.
I know. Good times. Happy holidays. I do like finding out cases I've never heard of.
Oh, wow.
I do like that. And from the most bizarre, who knew going to a meetup group?
Yeah, right. And now I really, really want to know, what does he have?
Me too.
And is he going to bring it?
No.
Message him.
He can't check it out. Stop it.
Check it out.
I don't have a way to message him. That's hilarious. Hey, listen, I was just wondering, can you bring
bring it?
Is it like, rumpled pantyhose or something? I mean, it was just, I didn't want to sound like a ghoul. Right. Which I am, but I mean, I was like, I wonder what it is. Oh, yeah. I wonder what it is. What does he have? He's typical cop. He's very cagey. I have a piece of evidence in my evidence room from the Santa Strangler case. Yeah. What?
He wants to share it. He wouldn't have said it.
I don't know.
I don't know. He wants you to think he's cool. It's a flex. It's not as good of a flex as hey, I have 4 sins. But
yeah,
but it's
right.
It's
so much less of a flex. He doesn't seem like a flexy guy. I don't know. He doesn't seem like a flexy guy, but I don't know. But I'm going to bring this around to Reptile.
Oh, geez.
I say to him, if you have Netflix, you may want to see the movie Reptile, because the evidence and property supervisor plays an important part in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he goes, I'm not going to have one more streaming. He said, I'm protesting. I'm not going to have one more streaming service. I'm protesting paying for one more. I don't have time to watch the ones I have now. I'm like, okay, I get that.
Who doesn't have Netflix?
This guy.
That's wow. I feel like Netflix is like the standard that everybody's got a Netflix login.
Me too.
I mean, even if you don't.
What, do you want me to say, could you break the law and use somebody else's? I know you're a cop and all, but
yeah, okay.
Would it be bad to get arrested for stealing Netflix of all the things in the world? But wait, God. Yeah. This girl made me. She forced her login on me just so I could watch this movie because she loves Benicio del Toro.
I met her at a meetup.
She goes around getting cops to break the law. She's like a terrible mastermind. She's a criminal mastermind. I set him up and then turn him in. Look, I know he's got 22 years in and a pension, but you know what? He fucking took my login. He took my Netflix login, and he needs to be stopped. He's just going around the city, taking people's logins, innocent people's logins. Oh my God, I would have hurt myself.
Oh, no.
This is from the man who last weekend said, hey, do you have a Peacock login?
I did. I ended up having to buy Peacock.
Oh. Can I borrow your login?
Yes, you absolutely can.
I don't know how. I keep trying, and I keep trying to buy it, and it keeps telling me I have the wrong password. And I'm like, you motherfucker. Yeah. And the only reason I don't even want it, is because people said I had to watch Yellowstone.
Oh, it was Yellowstone.
And I don't care about Yellowstone. I watched, I know, and everyone's like, you can't start at the beginning. I always love the impressions I do of my friends, and they all sound like Smurfs.
Yeah.
I was in Laguna at our timeshare, and they have, I guess, Peacock on their TV. I don't know. So I turned it on. It was like a marathon weekend. I think I was in the season 3, and I didn't care if they all died. In fact, I wanted them all to die. So I don't care. And everyone's like, oh, I think you would love it. You're very much like Beth. And I'm like, I'm not. I think she's horrible.
I don't know.
You don't know who Beth is, right?
Know, yeah.
Right. So anyway, all right.
Okay.
Everything comes back to Reptile, the movie Reptile. I'm just saying. All right.
Perfect.
All right. But did you like how I tied it all back in?
You did really well. And I'm still not sitting on that guy's lap.
All right, fine. That's fine. You don't have to. All right. I'm so sorry I talked badly about the LAPD. No one tried to ask for my login. It's all good. Everything's good. But good. If you happen to have Netflix, you might like Reptile.
Right.
The evidence and property manager has a supervisor has an interesting role. And I just was, yeah. So if you have a tip on a missing person.
A tip on a missing person or anybody stealing logins.
An unsolved homicide or LAPD or LASD who take people's just a crime spree across Southern California, who take your Netflix login, please give us a call at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. You can always email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. You can find us on any of the social media platforms, just the Tipsters Facebook page, at JT Tipsters on Instagram, at JT Tipsters Pod on Twitter, and more cowbell.
If you would like to support this podcast and get early access and other cool murderous swag, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.